time goes on, life changes, and so does everything we know. The vehicles we drive today have evolved dramatically, featuring modern advancements that would have been considered science fiction just a few decades ago. From touchscreens to GPS, today's cars are technological marvels. But let's take a nostalgic detour down memory lane and remember some of the quirky, bizarre features that once graced our rides, but were considered the height of automotive innovation and charm at the time. Let's hit the road. First off, we have pop-up headlights. Oh, the good old pop-up headlights. Pop-up headlights, which were once prevalent on the road, especially in the 70s and 80s, provided personality and curiosity to classic cars of the past. Pop-up headlights were so iconic that they were featured in many blockbuster films, like the sleek DeLorean in Back to the Future. They were first patented in the 1930s by Alvin T. Rodek, an automobile designer. They also increased performance by making automobiles much more aerodynamically efficient when disguised. All the driver had to do was flip a switch, and the headlights would appear from their hiding place, providing a mesmerizing sight. Unfortunately, regulatory authorities began enacting legislation prohibiting pop-up headlights in the 1990s. The primary reason for this was pedestrian safety. In the case of an accident, cars with open pop-up headlights were more dangerous since their sharp lines caused more damage. The 2004 Chevrolet Corvette C5 was among the last mass-produced cars to feature pop-up headlights. Next, we have gated shifters. These days, it has become increasingly difficult to find new cars with manual gearboxes. Automatic gearboxes have taken over, forcing us to say goodbye to our favorite stick shift. The traditional gated shifter will be a lasting memory for gearheads as manual automobiles become less common. Gated shifters used a metal casing that forced a stiff shift lever through slots or gates. Gated shifters became obsolete due to technological advancements and the transition to automatic transmissions, although many gearheads wish they would return. The only vehicles with gated shifters are high-end supercars, such as the new Pagani Utopia. Ferrari is one of the brands most closely associated with gated shifters. Many classic Ferrari models, such as the Ferrari 355 and the Testarossa, feature this distinct metal gated shifter, adding to their sporty allure. One of the last mainstream cars to feature a factory gated shifter was the Audi R8, marking the end of an era, as the automotive industry shifts towards more modern transmission technologies. Have you ever driven a vehicle with gear shifters? If so, how was your experience? The third feature on the list is a mechanical handbrake. The mechanical handbrake, often known as the handbrake or e-brake, was originally standard but is now becoming rare in new automobiles. The handbrake provided drivers with a haptic and engaging sensation, allowing them to apply the brakes with a pleasing click. Furthermore, the handbrake added a sense of security, especially when parking on a steep hill. Although manufacturers continue to construct automobiles with mechanical handbrakes, this feature may soon become obsolete as more vehicles transition to electronic parking brakes. This is unfortunate because future gearheads will not be able to experience the excitement of a true handbrake turn or slide. But you know what? Today's movies still feature mechanical handbrakes in car chases and stunts. You know those action movies where the hero performs a perfect handbrake turn to escape the bad guys? That's the magic of a mechanical handbrake. It really feels dramatic, right? After that, here comes T-tops. In the 1960s, automakers were concerned that the government and automobile regulatory agencies might prohibit convertibles due to safety issues. This resulted in the rapid emergence of T-tops. A T-top was a style of roof with two removable panels above each front passenger. Once removed, the panels would leave an exposed structural bar running down the middle of the vehicle, distinguishing them from convertibles and target tops. Burt Reynolds made the T-tops legendary in Smokey and the Bandit. It was the epitome of cool as he cruised down the highway. T-tops looked terrific, but their popularity dwindled as convertibles continued to exist. But there was a drawback. Some T-tops couldn't withstand the test of time and would leak, whistle, and rattle after a few years. Now come the front bench seats. Back then, most cars had front bench seats rather than individual seats and a central console like modern cars. Front bench seats were a particularly cool feature because they could accommodate 3 passengers and encourage social interaction while driving. Unfortunately, front bench seats were phased out in the 1970s as automakers sought to make vehicles safer. Having passengers so close to the driver was not only distracting, but also made it difficult for automakers to install automatic seatbelts and airbags in the middle seat. Individual seats also allowed drivers to choose their own seat settings. Here's a cool fact about these bench seats. Front bench seats were popular in drive-in theaters and known for allowing couples to sit closer together, making them a romantic feature for many. I remember riding with my grandparents, all squeezed together on the front bench seat, feeling the family bond and the bumps in the road. So the next unique feature is the headlight wipers. Saab has a reputation for having some of the most unusual features in their vehicles. Saab Automobile AB was a car manufacturer that was founded in Sweden in 1945. One innovative feature developed by Saab was headlight wipers, which were quickly adopted by Mercedes-Benz in vehicles such as the W140 S-Class. Headlight wipers began as an essential function to protect drivers' sight at all times, but they eventually grew into a status symbol featured in the best luxury cars. However, they quickly became out of style. For starters, they were flimsy and easy to destroy. They also occasionally failed to clean the headlights, instead spreading water and filth across them. Have you ever seen wood side panels? These aesthetic panels were the real beauty. The first automobiles emerged from wooden horse-drawn carriages. However, when metalwork tools and skills advanced around the turn of the 20th century, automakers shifted to metal as the primary structural component in automobiles. However, rather than abandoning wood entirely, automakers began employing it as a decorative element on body panels, since many people thought it looked nicer than metal and was associated with luxury. This is how the term woodies came about. Woodies were popular in the 1950s and 60s, but manufacturers quickly understood their flaws. They lacked enough protection during accidents and were more prone to damage than metal. Remember the iconic wood-paneled station wagon from National Lampoon's Vacation? It's a classic symbol of family road trips and quirky adventures. Parallel parking can be difficult even for experienced drivers. Therefore, retro cars got us covered because they had a drop-down fifth wheel for parallel parking.
The spare tire swings the rear end into the clear.
Some folks can't seem to get the hang of it, even when there's plenty of room to work with. To address this issue, automotive engineers designed vehicles with a retractable fifth wheel that would descend from beneath the car's back end, allowing for easy rotation using the front axle as a pivot. The fifth wheel worked excellently, but was expensive and difficult to install. The drop-down fifth wheel was frequently employed as a marketing gimmick to highlight the automobile manufacturer's technological prowess and inventive spirit for the few cars that did come with it. Because the mechanism had moving elements that were prone to wear and tear, and the system needed to be strong enough to reliably lift and support the front end of the car, the drop-down fifth wheel may give rise to safety and durability concerns. The fifth wheel component was ahead of its time, paving the way for today's self-parking technologies. It's amazing to see how ideas evolve. What about those stylish vent windows on the front? Air conditioning is a standard feature in every new car today, unless you choose a performance-oriented supercar that sacrifices creature comforts for performance. Prior to the widespread usage of air conditioning in automobiles, people relied on vent windows. All a person had to do was rotate a small part of the glass vertically and orient it so that it directed air into the cockpit while minimizing road noise. Nowadays, it seems like vent windows were the poor man's air conditioning. On a hot day, they were a lifesaver during family road trips. And then, the dual fuel tanks. The American Petroleum Institute reports that there are currently about 145,000 filling stations in the United States. This wasn't the case a half a century ago, so you had to go farther to find a gas station, especially on long road journeys. This is why some vehicles included 2 fuel tanks. Dual fuel tanks increased the distance one could go on a single fill-up, and the fuel gauge changed from empty to full with the flick of a button. It was like having a reserve parachute. They provided peace of mind during long road trips, ensuring you wouldn't get stranded in the middle of nowhere. Dual tanks were prevalent on vintage Ford trucks and other large vehicles with poor gas mileage, but they could also be seen in sports cars like the Lamborghini Espada and select Ferrari models. Ashtrays and lighters. During the early days, it was customary to see ashtrays and lighters fitted into their cars' dashboards. For non-smokers, this compartment was frequently used to store coins. Originally, car lighters were intended to be used as an emergency heat source or to warm up small gadgets, in addition to lighting cigarettes. As they heated up, they pushed in and then emerged. However, manufacturers progressively stopped supplying this function and replaced it with tech-focused installations like phone charger connections. Ashtrays in cars are a rare sight today, but back in the day, they were the epitome of cool. Just picture James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, flicking his cigarette into the dashboard ashtray. Long radio antennas. Radio antennae protruded from the sides or midsections of antique autos. It was because the radio was the only kind of entertainment in the car at the time. With the introduction of CD players, USB players, and even small TVs, one hardly listens to the radio nowadays. Furthermore, contemporary cars have replaced the classic fixed antenna with small retractable antennae or antennas built directly into the glass. Those long antennas were perfect for hanging car wash tokens or even adding a fun pom-pom at the top. Talk about a personalized touch. Do you know retro cars had 85 miles per hour speedometers? Hearing 85 mile per hour speedometers may sound strange to this generation. However, in the 1970s, cars were only allowed to travel at a maximum speed of 55 miles per hour in order to ensure safety and reduce fuel consumption. The federal law was passed, and cars at the time had a speedometer that read 85 miles per hour. In the 1970s, the 55 mile per hour speed limit was more than just a safety measure. It was also part of the energy crisis effort to save fuel. It was a slow ride, but it got you there. Modern cars feature speedometers that can reach 160 miles per hour, which was twice the speed limit in the 1970s. Well, which retro car feature do you find the most interesting? Do you miss the tactile feel of a mechanical handbrake, or perhaps the unique charm of pop-up headlights? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's relive the golden days of automotive quirks together. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your fellow car enthusiasts, and subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on our nostalgic journeys through the history of technology and beyond.